Many people associate mass murders in the United States to the 21st century. However, they have been a relatively common occurrence since the early 1900s. As people began to acquire semi-automatic handguns, mass murders have since started to come up. Many people associate these with the Pulse nightclub massacre, Sandy Hook, Stoneman Douglas, the 2017 Vegas mass shooting, and of course, the more recent Uvalde shooting. This date is etched into my memory. I remember being in school when the Stoneman Douglas shooting occurred. I was 18. The weight of what happened at Sandy Hook was still fresh in our minds. Then, we began to see the name of those killed. Alyssa Miriam Adelphiff, Gina Rose Montalvo, Martin Duque Arguino, Carmen Marie Schentrup. In total, 17 students died that day. One of the survivors of the Parkland massacre that survived was Carly Novell. At the time, she was just 17. She survived by hiding in a closet, just as her grandfather did 69 years earlier. Her grandfather, Charles H. Cohen, was only 12 years old when on September 6, 1949, Howard Unruh killed 3 members of his family: Rose Cohen, age 38, Minnie Cohen, age 63, and Dr. Maurice Cohen, age 39. He survived by hiding in a closet, shielded from the gunmen. The Walk of Death, as this tragic incident has become known, is considered one of the deadliest mass shootings in United States history. It remained the deadliest shooting until Columbine in 1999, a full 50 years later. Its story has since become forgotten and is rarely discussed in New Jersey, which has the strictest gun laws in the nation since 1966 and continues to maintain one of the lowest firearm homicide rates in the country, with only 3 per 100,000 people killed. I grew up outside of Camden in Burlington County, New Jersey, and I didn't hear about this until the anniversary of it in 2019. Howard Unruh, who was the perpetrator of the massacre, was born on January 21st, 1921 in East Camden, New Jersey. In high school, he attended Cramer Junior High School, which closed in 2021, and then completed his education at Woodrow Wilson High School, which opened in 1930. The Science Club wrote in his high school yearbook, "Howe is a quiet fellow." Despite his apparently shy demeanor, Howe has made a great many friends with his fellow members of the Practical Arts course. Howe's main ambition is to be a government employee, and if his previous works are any indication, the position is as good as filled. The utmost of success to you and all of your aspirations, Howe. He would later serve in World War II, where he generally was considered a first-class soldier by his superior officers, with them stating that he rarely drank, didn't swear, and generally spent his days reading his Bible and sending letters to his mother, who also lived in Camden. However, he also kept a meticulous notes from the battle and the soldiers he killed, down to the finest detail. He was later honorably discharged in 1945. Following the war, he worked as a sheet worker for a month before working in a soap factory. At the time, he created a practice range in his basement. It was at this time when his relationship with his neighbors began to sour due to derogatory remarks. At the time, he was often meeting up with other men for dates, something that at the time was both illegal and greatly stigmatized. The night before the massacre, he had a week-long affair with another man, who didn't show up for dinner that night. At 7 a.m. on September 6th, Unruh ate breakfast with his mother, and then at 9:20 a.m., he approached a delivery truck and shot at the driver with his Luger .08 pistol. He missed. The driver then attempted to warn people in the area, but failed. Next, he visited the shop of John Polaric, a local shoemaker and his neighbor. He killed him instantly. Then, he went to the barber shop of Clark Hoover, who was cutting the hair of Boris Smith. He proceeded to raise his gun and shot Hoover in the head, and then Smith next, killing them both. Then, he ran across the road to Cohen's pharmacy and shot and killed James Hutton, an insurance agent, when he didn't move. In the rear of the pharmacy, he spotted Rose Cohen and her husband, Dr. Maurice Cohen, trying to run up to their apartment. More than likely, they were trying to escape, hide, or call for help. Rose hid in one of the closets, and putting her son in another. Unruh shot into the closet that Rose was hiding in, and shot her 3 times before opening it and shooting her in the head. He then found Minnie Cohen trying to call police, who fatally shot several times. Then, he moved to the porch, where Maurice Cohen was trying to get help. He then shot him in the back, which caused him to fall, where he was then laying dying. The son, 12-year-old Charles, survived unscathed and escaped from the apartment without Unruh knowing. Unruh then left the apartment and walked to the middle of River Road, where the massacre was happening. He then fired into a sedan, killing the driver, Alvin Day. Then, he visited the local tailor, Thomas Zagrino. His wife Helga was inside the building at the time, and he shot her, killing her instantly. Zagrino survived only because he wasn't there, and was the intended target. He then approached the local grocery store, where he then shot Helen Wilson, John Wilson her son, and Emma Matlick. The 2 women in the car were killed instantly, and John later died of his injuries at Cooper Hospital. He was only 9 years old. Then, he fired through an apartment window, killing Thomas Hamilton, who was only 2 years old. He didn't know who he was shooting at. He just fired randomly. Then, he fired at another car. Its occupants Charles Peterson and James Crawford survived by escaping into a local tavern. Then, Frank Engel ran out of the tavern and attempted to neutralize Unruh with his own gun, and then successfully shot him in the leg. After shooting several more people who he missed, he then went to the home of Madeline Harris and her son, who were both outside with hanging up clothes. They both were shot and injured, and both survived their injuries. After hearing police sirens, he returned to his apartment and was surrounded by police, where he was then engaged in a gunfight. Then, Philip Buxton, a journalist with the Evening Courier, then called the apartment when he heard about the news. When he picked up the phone, the reporter described his answer as, in quote, a strong, clear voice. The call followed as,
Is this Howard?
Yes. What's the last name of the party you want?
Unruh.
What's the last name of the party you want?
Unruh. I'm a friend, and I want to know what they're doing to you.
They're not doing a damn thing to me, but I'm doing plenty to them.
How many have you killed?
I don't know yet, because I haven't counted them, but it looks like a pretty good score.
Why are you killing people?
I don't know. I can't answer that yet. I'm too busy.
I'll have to talk to you later. A couple of friends are coming to get me.
The standoff only happened when the police who threw tear gas went off in the apartment. 2 armed police officers, Charles Hance and Captain Everett Joslin, went up to the first floor. Unruh then surrendered, falling down the stairs, where he was then handcuffed. In his apartment, they found multiple guns, 700 rounds of ammunition that he probably made himself, his marksmanship medals, his target range, a Bible open to Matthew chapter 24, and a sex hygiene book. During his interrogation, he told the entire count down to the smallest detail, which was later released by Camden County Prosecutor Mitchell Cohen, who was unrelated to the Cohen family. He was then taken to Cooper Trauma to have his bullet wounds repaired, the same hospital where John Wilson would later die. The Camden County Prosecutor's Office would file 16 counts for willful and malicious slayings with malice aforethought, and 3 counts of atrocious assault and battery. During the trial, a psychologist diagnosed him with schizophrenia and shell shock, and he was declared mentally incompetent to stay on trial, where he was then sentenced to New Jersey Hospital for the Insane, where he was held in a private cell in the Room building. His last public words he ever spoke was in an interview with a psychologist, where he said, "I would have killed 1,000 if I had enough bullets." He later would remain incarcerated in 2009, never being declared competent enough to stand trial. Of the people he killed or maimed, their names were John Joseph Pilark, age 27, Orris Martin Smith, age 6, Clark Hoover, aged 45, James Hutton, age 46, Rose Cohen, age 38, Minnie Cohen, aged 63, Dr. Maurice J. Cohen at age 39, Alvin Day, age 24, Thomas Hamilton, age 2, Helga Zudkat Zengrino, age 28, Emma Matlick, age 68, Helen Wilson, age 37, and John Wilson, age 9. At the time, nobody knew why he wanted to kill everyone on River Road. Was it schizophrenia? Undiagnosed PTSD? Harassment due to him being gay? No one will truly know. The countless lives he took, it was difficult to estimate how many people he affected. He didn't just affect the lives of their families, but also the lives of their neighbors, friends, and coworkers. There are no justifications for his actions. However, it does make you wonder, was he born a monster or did he simply become one due to the way he was treated and how he's possibly underdiagnosed with PTSD? We will never know. He died on October 19, 2009 at Trenton Psychiatric Hospital, the same hospital he was originally sent to. The hospital would later house convicted serial killer Nathan Troop, mathematician John Forbes, who contributed to the field of game theory, real algebraic geometry, partial differential equations, and differential geometry, and it was also prolific for its removal of teeth and body parts without anesthesia or consent, resulting in hundreds of maimed, mutilated, and dead patients. It was also infamously the site of human experimentation as well. The Trenton Psychiatric Hospital has now been serving psychiatric patients for 176 years. It opened in 1848, and has since fallen into a state of disrepair, with several parts of it having long been abandoned. It also was one of the hospitals that is currently being sued as part of the Disability Rights New Jersey versus Sarah Edelman, Caitlin Boston, and the New Jersey Department of Human Services, Department of Health, and the state of New Jersey. 20% of patients in the 4 hospitals are currently being held under conditional extension, pending a placement, which essentially means there is no community placement available. It also includes the patient who was sexually assaulted by a staff member as another stood guard. Another suffered a TBI after being assaulted by other patients, with the staff doing nothing. In total, the hospital had 300 patients and 246 incidences of patient abuse, neglect, and exploitation. The suit argues that people are being condemned and confined against their will and against the Americans with Disabilities Act. The hospital was formed during a time where patients often were sent there against their will, having done nothing wrong, and now continues to hold people against their will, even if they are declared competent and mentally fit to return to society. However, that story is for another day.